The young widow refused his coat in the snow, and that's when the mountain man fell in love with her. Snow fell softly over the mountain settlement, blanketing the wooden cabins and narrow paths in quiet white. Winter ruled this land with an iron hand, and only the strong, or the stubborn, survived it. On that morning, the air was sharp enough to burn the lungs, and silence hung heavy, broken only by the crunch of boots in snow. Eliza walked slowly through the village road, her gloved hands gripping the side of a small wooden cart. Inside it sat her 5-year-old son, Noah, wrapped tightly in a faded patchwork quilt. His cheeks were red from the cold, his eyes wide and watchful. Eliza adjusted the blanket again, shielding him from the wind. She had been a widow for nearly 2 years. Her husband had died in the mountains, lost to an avalanche while hunting. Since then, Eliza had learned to endure hunger, cold, and loneliness without complaint. Grief had carved itself into her quietly, turning her into someone strong, reserved, and unyielding. From the far end of the road, a man approached. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with arms hardened by labor and survival. His dark hair was dusted with snow, and a thick fur coat hung from his arm. Everyone in the settlement knew him as Caleb, though most simply called him the Mountain Man. He lived alone above the tree line, spoke little, and came down only when necessary. Caleb noticed the boy first, too small, too still in the cold. Then he noticed the woman. She stood straight despite the weight she carried, her face pale but resolute. There was something in her eyes, pain, yes, but also dignity. Something that made him slow his steps. Without thinking too long, Caleb stopped in front of her and held out his coat. "Take this," he said, his voice rough but steady. "For the child." Eliza looked at the coat, then at him. It was thick, warm, far better than what either of them wore. She shook her head gently. "No," she said. "You'll need it more than we will." Caleb frowned. "It's freezing." She met his eyes. "We're used to it." No one had ever refused him before. Not kindness. Not help. Not warmth. Something shifted inside his chest. He slowly lowered the coat back onto his arm, nodding once. "As you wish." They parted ways, but Caleb did not forget her. That single moment followed him back up the mountain, her refusal, her calm strength, the way she chose pride over comfort. He had offered warmth, and she had offered him something far rarer, respect. In the days that followed, Caleb found reasons to pass near her cabin. He left firewood stacked neatly by her door. A rabbit, cleaned and wrapped, appeared one morning without explanation. Eliza knew who it was, though she never saw him leave. Noah did. "There's a big man," he whispered one evening. "He smiles at me." Eliza said nothing, but her heart softened in ways she did not expect. One night, a fierce storm swept through the settlement. Wind howled like a living thing, and snow piled high against doors and windows. Eliza awoke to a loud crack above her head, the roof beam had split. Before fear could settle, there was a knock at the door. Caleb stood outside, covered in snow, his coat torn at the shoulder. "I saw the smoke struggling," he said. "Your roof won't hold." He worked through the night, reinforcing beams, sealing gaps, feeding the fire. Eliza watched silently, offering hot broth when his hands trembled from the cold. "You should have taken the coat," he said quietly. She shook her head. "And you should have kept it." At dawn, Caleb left without waiting for thanks. Later that day, Eliza stitched his torn coat carefully, using the last of her good thread. She sent Noah to deliver it. Caleb stared at the repaired seam for a long time. From then on, things changed. They spoke more. Slowly. Carefully. Caleb fixed broken steps. Eliza shared meals. Noah laughed freely when Caleb was near, climbing onto his broad shoulders without fear. Spring came late, but when it did, the snow melted not only from the mountains, but from guarded hearts. One evening, as the sun dipped low and gold spread across the valley, Caleb finally spoke the truth he had carried since that first snowfall. "I fell in love with you that day," he said. "When you refused my coat. You showed me strength I didn't know how to name." Eliza looked at him for a long moment. "I didn't refuse kindness," she said softly. "I just needed someone to see me as more than a woman in need." He nodded. "I see you." And for the first time since winter had claimed her husband, Eliza allowed herself to believe that warmth could return, not from a coat, but from a shared life.